everybody. We've received many questions lately about what Gapology is exactly. And while you can certainly learn all about it in our book, Gapology, How Winning Leaders Close Performance Gaps, or by listening to our podcast, Gapology Radio, or watching our podcast, The Gapology Guys, on YouTube, I can give you a super quick overview of the Gapology model. Some refer to it as a framework or a tool, but I can get you up to speed on it, at least at a high level here. So first, Martinez discovered this model when leading a large team that worked for him over a broad geography. He was looking for why some leaders consistently perform at the top of his ranker and some were consistently at the bottom. And he was curious if the winning behaviors could be taught to the others on the team. He found that the A players, those at the top, consistently closed 3 gaps that we call performance gaps. The knowledge gap, this is where the team doesn't know what to do or how to do it. The importance gap, this is where the team doesn't know why they need to do something or when they need to do it. And the action gap, which is where the team isn't making the choice to take action. Now, one key thing to understand about performance gaps is where the ownership lies. If your team doesn't know what to do or how to do it, who owns that? Well, we do as leaders, of course. And if they don't know why they need to do something or when it needs to be done, who owns that? Yeah, we own that as well. Now, what about if the team chooses not to take action? Yeah, they take part in their ownership there. Now, we as leaders still own creating a culture of accountability, commitment, and action, so there is some joint ownership there. But if the leader has completely closed the knowledge and importance gaps, they can start to pass the responsibility for action to the team. Now, in Mark's initial research, he found that some specific leadership behaviors were consistently in place that closed the gaps, and in some cases prevented them in the first place for these A players. We call them root solutions, and there are 3 for each of the 3 gaps. To close the knowledge gap, you need to provide training, that initial instructional element when someone joins your team, and their ongoing development around key responsibilities and expectations. You also need to provide enhanced ongoing development that broadens an employee's performance by creating a teaching culture. You do this with mentoring programs and regular feedback from the leader and other top performers on your team. And finally, you also need to ensure that you align the talent with the correct role and responsibilities. You may find that some team members are misaligned and struggle with performance. If possible, you may need to move them to another role or, unfortunately, off the team. When aligning the right person with the right role, they will excel and deliver consistently winning results. To close the importance gap, you need to provide extremely clear expectations around what matters most. Those expectations must include what you expect the team member to do and what you expect them to deliver, behaviors and results. Be very, very clear here. Along with that, it clarifies the priorities of the responsibilities. Often people work on the wrong things or things that deliver a lesser impact or outcome than they could if they were working on the things that have higher value and higher impact. Keep your priorities super simple and narrow. We recommend 3 to 5 priorities for the most significant impact. To close the action gap, you need to create an environment of accountability where top performers are recognized and rewarded and bottom performers are coached. Tie this accountability to the expectations you've set for maximum impact. You need to establish a high level of commitment and expect it from your team. There can be no room for non-compliance or grudging compliance on a winning team. Commitment is key. And finally, you need to demonstrate and create a culture of action and winning. Set your standard here. Build your leadership rhythm around including this each day. Now, remember that we as leaders own the performance gaps, specifically the knowledge and the importance gaps, and we own elements of the action gap that create that culture where the team is committed to taking action. So your first step with all this is to take an honest look in the mirror around any gaps that you find with your team. It may just start with you. And that's Gapology in a nutshell. Mark and I first wrote and published Gapology back in 2010, and we began teaching it everywhere. Many more powerful components, tools, and methods are included in our book, so be sure to pick it up for maximum learning and insight. And of course, you can always visit gapology.org for all the details.